You know that feeling when you're trying to learn Arabic and you just hit a wall? Well, you were definitely not alone. Today, we're diving into a totally different way of thinking about Arabic grammar, one that promises to knock that wall right down. Let's get into it. Right off the bat, our source asks a question that, if you've studied Arabic, you've probably winced at. Hollow and defective verbs. They're infamous, right? Because they have these weak letters that just seem to change or vanish without any warning. They're a classic stumbling block. So what's really going on here? So this idea of the grammar wall, it's a real thing. So many learners talk about this. You're making progress, you're picking up words, and then bam, you hit this point where the grammar just seems to block you from getting any further. It's incredibly frustrating. Okay, does any of this sound familiar? Maybe you're in what they call an advanced course, but you feel like you're just faking it. You're still totally guessing at case endings, and the whole verb system feels like some kind of secret code you just can't crack. If you're nodding along, yeah, these are the classic symptoms. All right, so let's get to the diagnosis, and here's the really good news. The problem isn't that you're bad at languages, and it's not that Arabic is impossible. Nope. It actually comes down to these tiny but super crucial gaps in your grammatical foundation. And chances are, those gaps were put there by the very way you were taught. And what's wild is how specific this diagnosis gets. It's not just grammar in general, it's these guys right here, the verb system, those tricky verbs we just talked about, the case endings, and even basic structures like the adafa. You know how you say something like the car of the man? These are the little cracks in the foundation that can make the whole building feel like it's about to fall down. Okay, so all of that brings us to the real heart of this new approach, and it really requires a total shift in how you look at things. Instead of just shrugging and saying, well, I guess this stuff is just difficult, our source offers up a pretty radical new philosophy. And here it is. This is the big one. Just let that sink in for a second. The grammar you need to know is not intellectually difficult. The argument is that the subject itself isn't the problem. It's the method we use to teach it. And once you really get that, well, that changes everything. So, to give you a feel for the author's direct style, let's just start with something really simple. This is the definite article al. It means the. Pretty straightforward, right? It's actually even simpler than in a lot of European languages because it never changes. And boom. This just perfectly captures the author's voice, doesn't it? It's direct, it's a little bit sassy, and you are not going to forget it. He's not just teaching you a rule, he's giving you a really memorable reason to get it right, with a pretty good dose of humor. It's that personality that makes the whole thing so much more engaging. And this whole myth-busting thing just keeps on going. Worried about case endings? Well, guess what? In Arabic, there are only 3. That's it, 3. If you've ever tried to learn a language like German or Russian, which have way more, this should feel like a huge weight off your shoulders. The complexity you think is there often isn't. Okay, let's get to the main event, the verb system. This is the big one. This is where most students get totally bogged down, and it's where this approach is, frankly, revolutionary. The secret, it turns out, isn't about memorizing more stuff, it's about learning the right stuff in the right order. This slide is everything. On the left, you've got the traditional method, just throwing all 10 verb forms at you at once. It's completely overwhelming. Now look at the right. This is the new way. You master all the different types of the most common verb form, form 1, including all those tricky ones, before you even think about moving on. You build a rock-solid foundation first. So why does this work so much better? It's actually pretty brilliant, because once you've really truly mastered the most common and, yeah, the most difficult verbs, all the other 9 forms are suddenly so much easier. You've already done the heavy lifting. Now you're just applying that knowledge to new patterns that are way more predictable. So what's the end game here? What's the big payoff for doing things this way? Well, it leads to a complete transformation where grammar stops being that wall you keep slamming into, and instead, it becomes your tool. It becomes the key that lets you confidently unlock newspaper articles, novels, and real conversations. It gives you the power to understand what's really being said instead of just making a wild guess. And this all builds into a really clear path forward. Look, our source is super clear. Grammar is not the destination. It is step 1. Once that foundation is solid, it makes everything else possible. Reading what you want to read, speaking with confidence, and actually developing your writing skills. It's the launchpad for real fluency. And that really leaves us with one final thought, doesn't it? We've been talking about Arabic, sure, but this idea is so much bigger. So, what's that impossible wall in your own life that might just be a problem of method? What skill could you conquer if you just found the right key?